Oh, this isn't good.
We should have more people on the meeting, but.
Well, we're not seeing Pat either.
We already have two Q&A questions.
We're not seeing Pat.
Yeah, why aren't we seeing Pat? It's not going to that camera, Dave, it's going to the computer camera.
Yep, that's right.
So it didn't override it.
If you go down and see where the video down there on another map, video up there next, key to it.
This one here?
Yeah. Okay, I can studio, okay. Great. On the other one not working for some reason.
Yeah, it didn't come up.
It did not up in the list.
No, it's on the list, but it went to switch.
So,
Even though it lit up.
all right, so we'll just improvise. Let's go ahead and, go back to the other camera, turn the, camera. No, you're fine. Yeah, perfect. Because you're gonna get started, and then that's good. Okay. All right, excellent job.
You ready?
You're fine.
Make sure everybody can hear us.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear?
Yep.
Okay, great. Is that sufficient to know that everybody can hear? Okay, welcome to the 2020 Annual Meeting of Members of the Hidden Valley Foundation. We'll call this meeting to order this morning at 10:03. And I want to welcome everyone. We have a number of presentations that I think you'll find interesting and as well as enlightening. And we have some fun things on the agenda as well. So, Dave, if you will call the agenda, I'll call the meeting to order.
Okay.
Will you take roll call?
Roll call, okay. Pat McGrail,
Present.
John Eddy.
Here?
Okay, we got Doug Henley. Here. Bill Leja. Here. Bob Fuller. Here. Dave Fiola is here.
John.
John
John
Newport.
Newport.
We won't be able to hear that. Muted.
He's here. Yeah, he was on it remotely.
John Newport is here as well.
Is here as well, on via remote, so.
Quorum present.
Quorum present.
May I have a motion to set the agenda?
This is where we need to cue the,
Go to, yeah.
after we get a motion to approve.
Bear with us, we have to follow some, technical, steps in order to record these votes.
And this is where the homeowners are gonna be asked, they're gonna see a question come up on your screen, and you're gonna have to respond to that. We need the homeowners to respond.
It's the last question. Yeah, there you go. So we need a motion first, Patty.
Okay. Do I have a motion to set the agenda?
I'll set the motion.
Motion by John Eddy,
I'll second.
second by Bob Kohler. Any questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Looks like we have a yes from everyone. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Oh, let him.
Yeah, let
Wait,
him-
wait, 55 and 75.
Oh, okay, there it is.
There we go, 100%, good.
Good deal, approved.
Thank you, everyone. Before we get started today, as I said earlier, I'd like to welcome everybody to today's meeting. We have a number of items on the agenda and a number of presentations from committee chairs. We're going to start with a presentation from Seven Springs, so that we can, be brought up to everything that's going on, with regard to this year's upcoming winter event. Jeff Coulter is here, with us today, and he is going to make that presentation. So Jeff, if you would like to get started, welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see all of you. Thank you very much for allowing me to join you this morning. Just a technical question. Am I sharing my screen, or I was under the impression I was using something on your end to show the presentation? I don't want to mess everything up for you for your recording.
No, I think it's fine, you can share them now.
You can share your screen, Jeff.
All right. Are you seeing my screen?
Great.
We are.
All right, very
So
good.
we'll get started. Again, thank you very much for having us this morning. I got a bunch of slides. I'm going to go through them pretty fast because I don't want to take up a lot of time of your meeting. I do know that this is available to all of you to look at through your own website. And if you need it in a PDF format or something, I'll be happy to provide that as well. Just a quick little update from our past ski season. 101 days of skiing, opened on the 23rd of November, closed March 15th. Snowmaking began November 10th. We've kind of missed that for this year. Just haven't obviously had the weather. Right now, we're not seeing much in the forecast as far as a cold trend that we're going to get into it anytime real soon, but we are prepared and ready to do that. We're ready to ski as soon as we can. Last year, 60 inches of natural snowfall. I know Bob Kohler's happy about that, and but we'll hope for some more this year. Not very many homeowner events due to the COVID, but this was probably one of the most popular ones. Seemed to have a great turnout. Obviously, at this time, won't be doing that this year, but looking forward to hosting some events with the homeowners and sharing our mountains together. Again, weddings, we continue to have strong interest in our weddings. This past year, obviously, was cut short. We had 20 booked going into the spring, 19 of those canceled. Resort-wide, through all three resorts, we had 96 weddings scheduled, and I think we did about a half dozen throughout the year. So very disappointed for all of our guests, for all of those families and those special days that didn't get to happen. Many of them have rebooked for next year, and a few just did an alternative style wedding. So, but continues interest for this upcoming year, and we hope that'll all come to fruition. One good thing this year has been our real estate. For Hidden Valley, we've had some phenomenal numbers. 120 sales to date for this year, targeting 130, and they've been done very well. We've had great sells in the sense that our current listings are selling at about 95% of their asking selling price. So we're really happy with that. And I believe right now there's a very, very small number of units that are on the market, which much different than we've all seen in past years. What's new? Well, there a lot to return to the winter of 2020. We're excited. We've been preparing for quite a few months, and have a bunch of slides here to show about just what's going on, operations that you'll see. I believe some of you may have received an email from the resort that listed some of what you'll see today. Again, just want to remind everybody, we are committed to providing a safe environment for all of our customers and our employees. We have followed a lot of the guidelines from the CDC and many other organizations. Obviously, social distancing throughout the facilities and on the lift lines. We've added a lot of digital services to eliminate the amount of time people stand in any kind of a line. Obviously, face coverings are going to be required all throughout the resort, both in the lift lines and obviously in the buildings. And we have quite an extensive cleaning and disinfecting program that we will have in place for all of the rooms inside as well as outside. These are just a few of the signs that you'll see regularly outside at the lift lines. Big thing, if you're riding together, you can ski together, and there will be some additional information on that with on our skiing operations. But a lot of signage, both inside the resort and outside, helping to direct traffic, helping to keep people spaced apart, and hopefully it'll keep everybody safe. As I said, following CDC guidelines for cleaning surfaces and structures for our staff on maintaining their health as well. Our daily cleaning will be going on. Tables in the dining areas, whenever someone gets up, the table will be disinfected and cleaned before anyone else will be seated. Nightly, we will have another crew that will come in and do an extensive cleaning of all areas with electrostatic sprayers and misters that will help disinfect and maintain the facilities. Ventilation, another big area. We've spent a considerable amount of time looking at the current ventilation. We'll be bringing in some additional HEPA filter systems that will be in some of the rooms, making adjustments to the amount of fresh air that are brought in through the systems. Obviously, it increases heating costs, but we want to make sure that there's a good flow of fresh air into all the interior rooms that guests will be part of. As I mentioned before, our staff will have a lot of procedures that they will follow as far as notifications to our managers if there's any issues, anyone that's gotten sick, any exposure to a family member or someone else. All these steps in place, and we'll continue to monitor that as we go through the winter. As I said, trying to eliminate and lessen the number of times or amount of time people were standing in lines. We've made a considerable effort at increasing the number of opportunities and products that you'll be able to buy online. You'll be able to fill out all of the necessary waiver forms, everything, so that when you do come to the resort to purchase to pick up a lift ticket, it'll be as quick as scanning your barcode on your phone. It'll print out the ticket and you'll be gone. There'll be very little time spent in lift lines for that purposes. Season passes, many of you have already received your season pass. If not, the season pass office itself will be closed this winter, but we will have a window dedicated for season pass pickup at the ticket area on the courtyard. So again, just trying to minimize the number of touches that we all have to have with one another. We did start this fall with allowing, instead of having to have your picture taken at the resorts, we are now allowing and have had you upload your picture to your account, and we'll use that new picture instead. Again, ticketing all areas, lift tickets, rentals, tubing tickets. Primary hope is everybody will purchase online. Secondary, we will have QR codes outside of the facility areas, outside rental, outside tickets, that you'll be able to purchase. It'll direct you directly to the site through your phone. Obviously, there are those that may not have those opportunities, so we still will have areas that people can purchase in person, but hopefully that'll be minimal. Throughout all the facilities, this is just a diagram of our rental operations. We have to limit the number of people that can be in these areas at any given time. So there'll be lines starting outside the building, depending on the number of individuals inside. There are stanchions to control the direction which everybody will move. And as you can see from this particular diagram, we're trying this in many, many locations, that there's no cross traffic against, so people are distanced and safe. Snow sports, probably the biggest thing here again is probably with the Little Rippers program. It will not be the traditional program that we've had in the past, just because of the restrictions of 6 foot apart, etc. So there will be no traditional Rippers program. We will be doing private lessons for Rippers age children, as well as something we've phrased as the herd lesson. If there are several people that are comfortable being together, or you have multiple children that you wish to take a lesson, you'll be able to participate in the herd lesson instead. On the mountain, many different things here. One of the key things is our snowmaking plans. In the past, it's been always to get the lodge side open first, and then open up the summit side. We're going to try very hard to work on both sides of the mountain, so that when we open, you'll have much more. You'll have all the terrain we can give you to spread everyone out and not have everyone bottlenecked in one location. The lift lines, we're going to do a lot there with staging, so that people, again, are staying 6 feet apart. We're going to be having ghost lanes that will, again, keep that apart. Obviously, our skis help tremendously in keeping us nearly 6 feet apart. But again, there'll be someone in these lines to help manage distancing as we get on the chairs. On the triple chairlifts, there'll be no singles line, and all available lines will be self-grouped with guests up to 3. If a guest is a single and does not want to share a chair, our staff will be instructed to allow that to occur. On a quad chair, pretty much the same thing. However, on the quad chair, if there are 2 singles, we'll allow them to ride on either end of the chair to maintain spacing. Season lockers rooms will be operational, as well as the day lockers. We're going to have signage up again to control the number of individuals that are in those rooms at any given time. And obviously, we don't want any socializing and sticking around inside the locker rooms, so that, again, everyone has minimal time inside these kind of areas. The lodge is going to be open on weekends only, with a 2-night minimum stay. And normally we've served a continental breakfast down at the lodge. Again, we're not going to be able to do that this year. And so we're going to provide breakfast for the lodging guests at the Sunrise and Sunset Cafe area. We continue down there, same thing with lots of sanitation and disinfecting that will happen throughout the week, getting the rooms ready for the upcoming weekends. Food and beverage, my goodness, what a change we've had here. I've spent probably the last couple of weeks, we've been working in all the different areas in the lodge, adjusting tables, removing tables. Obviously, right now we're at a 50% capacity by the state and the health department. In reality, when we sit down and we measure out and separate tables to keep distancing apart, we don't even have 50%. So we're in an effort to try to make sure that tables are available and people can get in and out. We'll have a number of staff members at each food outlet area helping to control the use of the tables. And in addition to that, we're activating a reservation system for the clock tower and a wait list system through Yelp that will allow you to schedule when you're going to come in and to eat. We're just in the midst of all the training of that for our staff. And thirdly, we're going to offer some online options that you can order in advance and pick up from the clock tower. So there'll be a number of different ways for individuals to get some food and beverage. As I said, here's sunrise, sunset. We're adjusting the flow in and out of that room. There'll be one entrance, one exit. Again, table spacing has been widened. Clock tower, all these rooms, we're expanding the clock tower into Yukon. And I know this one hurts everybody, including us. Glaciers will not be an open room for food and beverage in the traditional sense. It is so small with nobody being allowed to be at the bar and a 50% and safe distancing. I think we were able to get 6 chairs or 6 tables in that room, and that just didn't seem to make sense. So we've done an alternative in that we're going to do a grab and go where we're going to have a very select number of items and beverages that you can come in, again, through distancing lines, grab a sandwich and a drink, and we're going to put we've already brought in a lot more tables to place outside in the courtyard to give you a place to eat if that's an option that you would prefer. Avalanche as well on the summit side. We've done changes down there. We've brought in more tables and chairs for outside that area as well. And we're going to have a little bit more of a nice weekend menu with a grill that will be out there to try to keep people on that side that would like to stay there. Tubing operations, same thing. Enhanced the ticketing options for there as far as buying online. Queuing lines and fencing will be used to control distancing at there. Finally, the communications, how we're getting this out to everybody. We're in the middle right now of developing a number of videos for all of the different activities that a guest might experience at the resort. These will be online, as well as we'll be sending out emails as we already have with information and instructions as we get further along into everything for the operations for the winter. All of these organizations have been extremely involved in the processes that we've gone through. And again, our goal is to make a safe environment for all of our guests and our employees. We're going to have some struggles, I'm sure. It's a big change for all of us, but we're dedicated to that happening. And that's it. I thank you all very much for the opportunity to put a little bit of information in front of you. The only last thing I want to say is I want to thank Jay Barbaccia for his efforts with your Facebook homeowners page. He's done a great job over the last 6 years and we appreciated his efforts as much as I'm sure most of you have as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay, and we appreciate all that information. This presentation, along with the others you'll see today, are posted on the website?
They're on the website, yep.
They're on the website. If you're having difficulty seeing the presentation in the Zoom meeting, you're able to access that during the meeting. So, but again, Jeff, thank you very much for all this valuable information, and I have a feeling you're going to have a lot of hits on that website.
I think so too. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good day.
Okay, very good. All right.
Is Jeff still there?
No, I think he signed off. Oh, no,
No,
maybe he is. Is there a
I'm
question?
still here.
Jeff?
Hey, Jeff, if
Yeah.
you don't mind, we have a question that came through our chat. And I know you mentioned the online systems that you have.
Yes.
Do you know when those are gonna be up and running?
Our goal is end of this month. Right now, I think we're targeting around November 27th to have all the online functions up and running. We're just going through some final testings because we've literally put everything as far as snow sports, rentals, ticketing, all those aspects. Obviously, the food and beverage options won't be up and active until we are actually open and operational. But as far as advanced ticket sales, that'll all be up. We're shooting for the 27th of November.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
All righty.
All right. There is another question, Dave. I don't know.
Well,
Okay, we'll just keep going.
I got Vicky monitoring that for us, so.
Okay, great. So we're going to keep moving through the agenda. Next item is a motion to approve the minutes of the November 23rd, 2019 annual meeting. John Wolf is going to pull up our poll. So,
We need a motion. Yep.
so at this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of November 23rd, 2019.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Bob Kohler,
I'll second.
second by Doug. Any questions on the motion? Let's let this vote. I can see the vote, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna wait.
yeah, that's fine. In the meantime, we had a question asked, somebody asked if, when we refer to the website, I'm assuming, I don't know if they're talking about our presentations, but the presentations are on hvftoday.com's website. The link was in the weekly update that went out on Thursday that will take you right to the page where these presentations are as a backup.
But to make reservations,
Yeah, for reservations and things, that's going to be Hidden Valley Resorts website. That would be probably the logical place to go for that.
Can we extend it?
all right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, it looks like everybody's had an opportunity, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, we'll move now into our treasurer's report. Bob Kohler, and he's promised another spine-tingling treasurer's report.
We need to get Bob Arman first. So Bob Arman, if you're on, we're gonna open your mic so that you and I can do this together.
There it is.
So Bob, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, hang on. Yes, sir, we can. So hang on a second. I'm gonna open our slides, Bob. John, do you know how to get that to disappear for just a second? I can't get to mine.
Your little button there.
We ready?
One
you hear me?
second, Bob, almost. Okay, there we go. All right. So, good morning, everyone. Our topics today, we're going to cover a couple things. We're going to talk about the annual audit of our foundation's financial statements. I'll give you a quick review of how we did for the year just ended, June 30, 2020. We'll talk about our replacement reserves, how we take care of the community long-term, give you a quick peek at how we're doing so far this year financially, and then talk a little bit about the real estate market. So at this point, I'm going to turn the microphone over to my distinguished colleague, Bob Arman, who's our audit committee chairman. He'll talk a little about the audit of the financial statement. So Bob, take it away.
Okay, Bob. The annual audit of the foundation's financial statements. Number one, it's required by the foundation's bylaws. Unmodified or clean opinion, again, rendered on the financial statements. Very important, this sends a positive message to the owners and prospective buyers, as well as their mortgage lenders, that our financial statements have been subject to an independent audit by a neutral third party and are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles. Auditors noted no weaknesses in internal controls and no significant audit adjustments required as part of the audit. Auditor's observation during the audit. The foundation is in a very strong financial condition. The auditors noted some areas where the accounting practices of the management company resulted in errors. For example, reconciliation of activity in our investment accounts, recording of accounts payable at year end, etc. These matters will be reviewed with the management company. The audit committee involvement. Recommends the CPA firm for the current year audit, meets with the auditor prior to the financial statements being finalized, reviews and approves the statements and the auditor's recommendations. The audit committee members include Bob Arman, Chairman, Kelly Culliman, CPA, and Mike Roberts.
Thank you, Bob.
I might add one thing, Bob. You know, we've been doing this for several years, and this was the best, I think, audit that the auditors did, and they were very complimentary. And I think that's a tribute to your efforts too.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Bob, I'm going to mute you now. Thank you for that report. All right, so we'll kind of switch gears and talk about the financials and how we did for the past fiscal year. So let me give you a quick snapshot of how we did for the year. So if you take a look at our fiscal year results, actual versus budget, you'll notice that we're showing a small surplus for the year, $139,000, compared to we had budgeted that we thought we would have a surplus of about $34,000. I'll talk in a minute about why there was a difference. You can see that that was a little bit of an improvement over last year. And in both this fiscal year and last fiscal year, we continue to contribute money into our reserve fund, which helps us to take care of the property long term. So if we look at, kind of drill down a little bit, the revenues for this year were consistent with budget and with prior year. We didn't see any big fluctuations. There was really no increase in our delinquent accounts receivable from the year prior. Our labor expenses went down a little bit because we had a partially unfilled position during the year. We had a significant decrease in our snow removal expense, though, because we had a mild winter, and I'll show another slide on that in a minute. Our professional fees also decreased during the year over prior year due to eliminating some non-recurring expenses we incurred last year related to our self-governance, bylaw changes, etc. Our grounds maintenance, though, did increase this year, and that was really a timing issue. Some of the mulching work did not get done last year on time, and it occurred in the beginning of the fiscal year, and then we got hit again in the late spring this year. The revenues and expenses of the foundation are very predictable. Our operations don't change much from year to year. Probably the biggest changes we see are when we do capital projects, but 95% of our total revenue comes from, of course, all of us, right, from member assessments. But about 76% of our total fiscal year operating expenses fall in 6 categories, and you could probably predict what they are. The labor force, our folks that work here, grounds maintenance, snow removal, security, utilities, and professional fees. And you can kind of see it graphically here too, that when you look on the right side there, half of our expenses are the folks that work here for the foundation and maintaining our properties, the grounds maintenance. You can see the other ones are a much smaller percentage of our total expenses, And then when you see the 24% in other, you might wonder, well, what the heck is in there? Well, there's a number of things in there. Our insurances, our office expenses, the cost of operating our vehicles, the payments that we make to our management companies. That's really the catch-all category. So showing it another way, I kind of like this slide because sometimes I'll get a question from homeowners about, well, where are my assessment dollars going? So we created this little slide to kind of show you each dollar that you spend, where does it go, right, in your assessment. So grounds maintenance, you can see being the bulk of it. Our labor component of our annual budget is what we're putting into our reserve fund. And then you can see kind of the smaller slices of the dollar there. And once we get past the vehicles, the slices of the dollar get really small. So the big dollar pieces, the big increase or big pieces, you can see it represented by the larger components of the dollar there. Snow removal is obviously the one that I can get concerned about the most as treasurer, and you heard Jeff refer to that. And you notice that on his slide, he showed 60 inches of snow. Now, the resort measures snowfall a little bit differently than we do. They start snowfall measurement on the first day of snow or ski operations. We monitor our snowfall here via John Cups, who is one of our finance committee members, and he monitors it once it starts to snow. So that's why you see a little bit of a disconnect between what the resort reports and what we do. But this gives you some idea of what our snow removal costs are, and you can see the 3-year history here. And last year, we did see a $99,000 decrease in our snow removal costs. And even though the snowfall went down a lot, you can see the shoveling went down significantly. You might wonder what happened there. Well, in fiscal year 2019, we had a lot of ice events. We used a lot more salt as a result of that. And additionally, we did a lot more shoveling trying to keep the walkways open. So as of June 30, 2020, which is our fiscal year end, we had a good year. We finished the year with an operating surplus. We continue to have no long-term debt. We put our money into the reserve fund in accordance with our budget, and we made a number of capital improvements throughout the community. Those capital reserves are, extremely important to us. We use those to fund significant repairs throughout the community and to replace our existing assets. We make sure that every month we're transferring an amount into our reserve fund throughout the year. We follow an independently prepared reserve study in order to do that. And then historically, anytime we have a significant surplus at the end of the year, we also move that into the replacement fund. The board last night voted to approve moving this year's surplus, which was $140,000, into our reserve fund. So a quick snapshot of where were we at June 30th in terms of our investments. You may recall a couple years ago, the Finance Committee recommended and the board approved moving to professional management, and this has been very successful for us. It's improved our return on our investments, and we've been able to grow that reserve fund. In fact, our investment income this year compared to last year is up $20,000. You can see the composition of what we have. We do invest fairly conservatively. You can see that about $1.1 million of our total reserve fund is in money market and CDs. The rest is in equity securities and fixed income, totaling about $2.4 million at the end of June. We have invested heavily in the community. I really like sharing this every year with the homeowners because it shows you that we have continued to put money back into the community. In our most recent fiscal year, we had spent about $500,000 on capital projects, street paving, some of the preliminary design work for proposed expansion of the Southbridge Center, drainage projects, and this was the final year of the light pole replacement project. So I totaled up, where have we been? I just picked a year to start with. So from 2012 all the way up through the last fiscal year, we've spent $4.1 million in the community. So we continue to reinvest in the community to try to make sure that all of our amenities are well maintained. Those reserve funds are incredibly important to us. So on those audited financial statements that you received at home, you'll see a column on there called the replacement fund, and that's what we're using to make sure we can do those repairs and continually maintain, replace assets when needed. This is considered a best practice for planned communities. We have an independent consultant perform a reserve study, and in fact, our bylaws require that we do that every 5 years. So it's great to have a neutral party come in, take a look at all of our existing assets, and give us some recommendations about what should be done. This, I think, really puts it in perspective. If we look at the results of the most recent reserve study in 2017, the consultant said that over the 40-year period, starting in 2017, we would spend $16.2 million to to maintain the assets and infrastructure of the community. That is not a typo, ladies and gentlemen. That is the number. We will also need to spend additional amounts for projects that are not covered under the reserve study. Specifically, we've had to do a lot of work on drainage that is not covered in the reserve study. Just looking at over the next 3 years, I pulled those numbers for today. The reserve study shows that in fiscal 22 through 24, we would need to spend about $1.6 million on a variety of things. The funding, we will need to put about $1.3 million into reserves. So we continue every year to put together a capital budget that goes into, looks at what we need to spend and what will we need to fund. I think this helps give everybody a perspective too on why we need these funds. And this comes right out of the reserve study. You can see the types of things that we have up here that you may not realize. 10 miles of roads, we own 2 buildings, 2 pools, 14 ponds. This is the one that always kind of, I find most interesting. We have 625 street lights that fortunately we have just replaced 100% of them. And we also own 4 trucks and some other vehicles and equipment that we use. So let's take a look at this year's budget. So we're budgeting a surplus before any transfers to reserves of about $359,000. We'll move money into reserves every month, about $350,000, projected surplus being about $10,000 for the year. So we typically have pretty much a break-even budget. Our capital budget for the year, $400,000. When we came into this budget year, we were able to put together a budget without any assessment increase. Last night, I reviewed with the board and the homeowners the results of the first quarter. We're showing a nice surplus for the first quarter. Our capital projects are underway. Of course, as I always say, the major unknown is snowfall, right? We all want it to snow so that we can ski. I just don't want it to cost a lot to remove it from the road. So we hope for that nice balance there. And as I've mentioned before, every month we're moving money over into the replacement reserves. We do a number of things to try to control expenses. I think the office staff does a really good job of challenging things whenever we need to buy something. We get bids on almost everything. Our internal policies require us to get bids on things over $5,000, but typically with anything over $1,000, we're trying to get a couple of bids on. We do watch the budget very closely. We are constantly looking for ways to, should we do more things in-house or should we use external vendors? We've had a good success with snow plowing and a partnership between our maintenance team and the outside vendor. We have only 8 full-time employees for 1,080 units across the mountain. Some long-term contracts and preventive maintenance have been, I think, successful in controlling our expenses. We have an active finance committee that really does a good job, I think, of advising the board on all types of financial and accounting and budgetary matters. During the past year, they are actively involved in the budgeting process. We meet with our professional investment managers. We always review the insurance coverage in depth before it renews every year. Finance committee members, I always like to just give a quick shout out to thank them. So in addition to myself, you can see having a name of John is a good thing to be on the finance committee. We have John Cubbs, John Eddy, John Newport, Dave Oster, and Chris Humble, and I want to thank them for their service this year. I also just always like to touch on the real estate market. You saw that Jeff Coulter had a slide up there as well. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on in the real estate market, I just went back to 2014. You can see obviously that year to date, this was kind of an explosive year in terms of real estate sales. Jeff's slide was October 1 to October 1. Mine starts with the calendar year, but you can see up through October 8th, we've sold 92 properties here on the mountain with a total value of $17.1 million. The information comes from my friend and Hidden Valley neighbor, Mike Mikulich, but quite an active market here the last 2 years. I also like to show what are the homeowners doing, right? Folks who are already here. So if you take a look at, this is the history of the ACC permits that have been issued. You can see we've had quite a bit of activity, tied in probably with those increased real estate sales. New owners are making some investments in their properties. So you can see the trend line over the last several years is going up. And then lastly, some key points to remember. Our community is financially strong. We're well positioned financially for the future. We don't have any long-term debt. We've had that independent audit giving us an unmodified or clean opinion. We're providing money for replacement reserves so we can take on the projects that we need to going forward. We've got 2 very active audit and finance committees. monitoring our affairs, and we've got a very active real estate market. So the closing thought, right, accountants, we're not always introverted, but especially not when we talk numbers. Thank you very much.
We have a question, Bob.
Oh, we have a question, okay.
So someone had asked, how much is paid out in investment professional management fees?
So the investment management fees last year totaled about, I'm going by memory here, guys, it was about $15,000. It's a percentage of the return. One investment manager charges us 0.40% or 40 basis points, and the other one charges us 60 basis points. So even net of their fees, we've done very well. And the number I quoted when I said the investment income, that's truly the interest income and dividend income received. We also had a nice run-up in the value. Our portfolio continues to grow in terms of unrealized gains. Good question, thank you. Madam President.
Thanks, Bob and Bob. Great report. And Bob, I just wanted to clarify, that's 15,000 that you just indicated, the fees for the investment management.
I believe that is what
It might have sounded like 50.
Oh, no.
I just wanted to make sure.
Definitely not
it was 50. Okay, we're gonna move on through. We have a number of reports that, you should have, pages in your packet, and that is the staff report, the ACC report, maintenance and committee report, rules and regs, and social and rec. They have a page and are not doing presentations, but I do want to say that each and every one of those committees have been hard at work this year. For those of you who are participating in this meeting, and I know we have a lot of new foundation members, I continue to be impressed that the Hidden Valley Foundation is run in large part by a volunteer army, and we're always looking for new recruits. But I don't want you to think that the job that those committees that are listed are doing are in any way minimized by the fact that they're not doing a formal presentation today. So please take the time to look at the information they have provided, and we'll just keep on going through this agenda. I believe we have a PowerPoint presentation by Jay Barbasha with regard to provide us with a report on the status of the strategic long-range plan.
Do we need to have a motion to approve the treasurer and auditor?
It's at the bottom. It's at the bottom. If you look at
I'm sorry, go ahead.
number 18. It's all the reports are, okay.
I was looking at, I was at an earlier version of these.
Did you want a separate motion?
It's not to be that way, we can just do it again.
Okay.
Jay, can you hear?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So
Good.
Jay, can you share your screen with us?
I have my presentation up. Can you all see that?
We're working on it, Jay.
Or we just pull it up, John,
Yeah, why don't we just,
from the stick?
you wanna run that? You just advance it for him?
Yes. There we go.
Where is the start?
Up the slideshow, John,
Resume slideshow. Oh,
Yeah, okay, perfect.
and then from beginning over to your left,
all the way over to.
all the way left.
From the, there we go.
Okay.
Now,
Jay,
Jay, can you see that?
I can see you guys.
But you can't see the presentation? Okay, that's fine. I get the share going first.
There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Fantastic.
Okay, Jay, we're ready when you are.
Okay. They've always said I've had a face made for radio, so I guess that's the way this works here. So, good morning. It's my pleasure to review the 2020 through 2025 strategic plan with our Hidden Valley community. While this is a refresher for many of our homeowners, we do have a lot of new homeowners, new members of our community. And we would like to make sure that everybody is aware of the strategic plan. I'd like to quickly review our process, products, progress, and plans for future follow-up. The information on the strategic plan can be found on the foundation website. You would log into hvftoday.com, go to the portal, click on ownership, click on association governance, and scroll down and click on the strategic plan. So all of these survey results and that sort of thing can be found there. Our committee, we had 31 volunteer homeowners that participated on the committee. And again, the operative word there is volunteers. This process started in February of 2019. All of the current board members also participated in the meetings and throughout the process. We had 10 meetings lasting approximately 3 hours each. And when you add in additional work done by committee members, we exceeded about 1,000 hours of volunteer time in this effort. We have an implementation committee that continues to monitor and facilitate progress on the strategic plan. So what was our process? We tried to be very data-driven. We did a zip code analysis of the current home ownership, and this would have been back again a year ago. This has probably changed since then. We did a targeted survey of homeowners who bought their property in the previous 5 years. So that would have been the period 2014 through 2019. And we had 55 respondents to that targeted survey. We did the all homeowner survey and had 387 respondents. We conducted a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis with the Hidden Foundation staff and with the committee members. And lastly, we had a Hidden Valley real estate briefing covering the opportunities and challenges related to the real estate market. Our products. To get everybody on the same page, we did create a value, vision, and mission statements. I would emphasize that we refer to the Hidden Valley community. Rick Etling was pretty passionate about the foundation. What does that refer to? Is that a building? Is that a staff? Is it a legal entity? We're really talking about a community. So the mission of the Hidden Valley community is to create value for our homeowner members through a community that is distinguished by the beauty of its natural environment, its dedication to families and family life, the aesthetic appeal of its common and private properties, its encouragement of member involvement, and its stewardship of its assets, human assets, financial assets, and physical assets. What are our values as a community? These would be inclusive of respect for all, acceptance and inclusion of everyone, teamwork, working cooperatively to achieve a common goal, transparency, honesty, and integrity in governance in all matters, excellence in communications, consistency and adherence to foundation standards and guidelines, nurturing our natural environment in every season of the year, service to one another through volunteerism and the involvement of all interested homeowners, and lastly, the pursuit of mutually beneficial cooperation with our neighbors, especially the Hidden Valley Resort. Next slide, please. What is the vision that we have for our community. That would be structured in our strategic plan, which is in 5 pillars or focus areas: quality of life, value, safety, service and volunteerism, and communication. The vision statement for Hidden Valley community was drafted using a 5-3-1 format. The goal stage starts in year 1, which was 2020, and continues until 2023. So we were just finishing the first year of our goal stage. The vision stage starts in 2023, year number 3, and our aspiration stage, what we hope to be in the future, is to be achieved by year 2025. The next page is just a sample of what one of these pillars would look like. The one that happens to be here is community quality of life. And again, the first column is 2020 goals, the second is 2023 vision, and the third is the 2025 aspiration. The entire 5-3-1 document can be found on the website at the location that I gave you earlier. So how have we done in our first year? We got started roughly February of 2020. In less than a year, this would be a breakdown of green, yellow, and red progress on our 60 initiatives. And the community's made pretty steady progress. You'll see that the green has now gone up to 2/3 of our total initiatives. And the red is only about 5% of our initiatives. The yellow phase, being kind of the neutral phase, is kind of in the middle there at about 20%. So we're very happy with the success that we've had. And this is all again due to volunteerism. The next slide, please. I think we skipped one here, which would be another progress slide. There we go. Part of the work of the strategic plan with the various and sundry initiatives resulted in the need for 11 new working groups and committees. I'm happy to report that all of those are currently in action. Many of them may need some additional members. So if you're of the volunteer ilk, please feel free to step up and help out with one of these committees. And these include leadership development, chaired by Chris Umbel, walking paths and trails, chaired by Jay Smith, long-term dining solutions, chaired by Tom Pallone, Wi-Fi, chaired by John Yoakum, sustainable energy, chaired by myself. Cross-country ski, hiking, snowmobile trails was combined with walking paths and trails. And again, that's chaired by Jay Smith. Real estate value and demographics, chaired by Marie Fab. Landscape, chaired by Dennis Carroll. Water and wastewater services, chaired by Joe Kramer. Safety, chaired by John Eddy, and communication, chaired by Dave Fiola. Several of these committees will have reports which follow this, and they've made rather significant progress. Okay, as we near the end of the first year of our goals phase, and we've moved toward having some new board members, we'd like to have an opportunity to discuss the strategic planning process with the new leadership, thoroughly review the process, data, and product of the 2019 committee with the incoming members, and move forward with the new group. We want to continue to drive forward to make sure that this remains on everybody's radar for the next 5 years. We want to, with the community, we want to continue to renew and promote our collective value, vision, and mission. At the end of the first year, as we near the end of the first year, particularly as a result of the pandemic, there may be a need for some reprioritization of our 61 initiatives to assure that our priorities reflect the current needs of the community, which may have been altered. We want to assure that consideration of data collected from our homeowner survey is always involved in the prioritization and decision-making processes. We want to formalize and thoroughly educate all committee and task force groups of the Hidden Valley Foundation and capital acquisition process. And lastly, we want to consider a short targeted survey of our community to assess the impact of COVID-19. For example, the increased number of full-time residents as opposed to part-time residents, the increased rental use of our properties, and the resulting impact on services provided, such as trash removal, recycling removal, and recreation and social programs. And that's a very quick overview of the SLRP. Please go into the website at the location we identified and review the survey documents and other documents at your leisure. Thank you.
Jay, thank you very much for all the work you've done with the strategic long-range plan. The board has made it a priority as well in 2020 to make sure that the community is updated on the progress of the various pillars and task the special task groups that have been formed, and we will continue to do that. Jay, if I'm hearing you correctly, do I understand that you may be doing it, your group may be doing another survey in light of the pandemic?
Well, that would be up to the board as to whether or not we do a shorter, very focused survey that would reflect the changing needs of the community as a result of maybe more full-time property owners as opposed to part-time, and to maybe reflect upon the, I guess I would group them as sanitation needs for the community, trash removal, recycling, et cetera, which is we do a walk around in the community and we look at dumpsters on Mondays, for example, or we look at recycling after 4 or 5 days and find that those dumpsters are overflowing. It's pretty evident that there has been a change in the need of the community and a change in our demographics. So again, this would be at the pleasure of the board, but we would propose perhaps doing a very focused, shorter survey to try to capture more information on those issues.
Okay, well, I guess we'll talk more about that.
Yes.
But again, thank you and your committee for your work.
Okay, I also would want to mention that there is a dashboard that shows the progress on every initiative broken down by pillar. That complete document would also be found on the website for everybody to take a look at their leisure. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the multi-use pathways and trails presentation by Jay Smith. This group is also an offshoot of the strategic long-range plan. And so Jay Smith, if you want to start your report, that would be great.
Okay, can you hear me?
Are you able to share your screen? There you go. Okay. You're good to go. Maybe.
This is, where to go? Jay Smith at the.
Can you hear me, Jay?
Jay, we can't hear your audio.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good, finally. Sorry about that. There's multiple buttons you got to press to unmute. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Good, all right, I'll start again. I'd like to thank the board and the Long Range Strategic Planning Committee, Jay Barbaccia, for providing us the opportunity today to present on our initiative to look at the multi-use paths and trails at Hidden Valley, a very popular amenity. My slides aren't advancing. Hold on a second here. There we
I don't
go.
think I can control.
There we go. I got it. Committee members, I'm Jay Smith. I'm the chair of the committee. We also have Terry Sensu, Stu Staley, Dennis Carroll, John DeWall, and Chris Zarodsky. I'd like to thank those folks for volunteering their time for the committee. Our committee developed over time a plan of action to address the multi-use pathways, and we came up with some goals, which again is a very popular amenity. I think in surveys it was rated near the top as amenity at Hidden Valley. And so part of that is providing connection to Hidden Valley communities. If any of you walked on the trails, you run into neighbors, people walking dogs, you enjoy the beauty of our community. So it's transportation, and it's also a way of connecting with our community members. We also want to provide for safer walking. Many of these trails dump out onto roadways. There's no crosswalks, there's no signage. So we like to improve the safety, and if we provide new trails, they will also be safe trails. We'd also like to have better connections to the adjacent state forest and state park trails, and coordinated signage and trail maps. The challenges to getting this done is, first of all, we need some mapping. We have very limited mapping here at Hidden Valley. We're working on getting some mapping to work with. Of course, there's the costs of trail studies and design. We need to confirm where our property boundaries are. We can't build new trails or expand trails on property that we don't own. Cooperation with the resort is important. They have some trails, and of course, they will benefit from this. They'll be able to, sell this to people who are staying at the resort who want to experience the beauty of nature at Hidden Valley, and of course, the cost of implementation. So phase one of our plan is, first we want to develop a master plan assessment of our trails and how we can expand those. We've contacted a trail consultant called Penn Trails, a nationally recognized trail planning and design firm. And hopefully we're going to be able to move forward with them in the future. We're going to develop mapping for the trails and walkways, and we're going to obtain recommendations for expanding the walkways hopefully from Penn Trails. And again, identifying connections to state parks. We'd like to develop some trail maps that show the current trails and come up with signage that'll direct people. It'll all be keyed together. For those who haven't used the trails, they'll be able to figure out where they go and how it all ties together. So execution of that is doing those things. Of course, the master planning efforts, we need to get approval for that from Penn Trails. We're going to develop those maps and distribute to the community and to anyone staying at the resort. The installation of trail signage to guide people where the trails go. And hopefully we can obtain some grants from the state for expansion of the trails. So our plan of action, we developed a phased trail expansion approach. We came up with some ideas of where we can put trails. As you can see, this is Powder Ridge here. This is Eagles Ridge, and here's High Top Drive. There's an existing trail that goes along High Top Trail. And then there's this little spur trail that goes through this beautiful little area here with these giant boulders. And then it dumps out onto Eagles Ridge Way where you'd have to walk in the road. So we're proposing this trail that could be a sort of a more natural trail, maybe a mulch surface or crushed stone surface. That'll be like a nature trail that will connect up and kind of create a circle for this whole trail, keeping folks out of the roadway. Could be an interpretive trail with nature, signs related to flora and fauna, teach our young people about those kind of things. So that's our first one. Now, this is another option we looked at, which is connecting the High Top Drive trail here over to the Snowfield Drive and then eventually to the existing Highlands Drive trail. And this would go between Timbercrest and the radio tower. And it's a short trail. But we think it's a great little connection between the two trail systems and gives people an option. This trail here is really not a trail expansion. It's an existing trail that most people don't even know about. It's called the West Ridge Trail. There's actually a sign on a tree at the entrance to the West Ridge townhomes for this trail. It's become overgrown, so it's kind of hard to find. So what we're proposing is to put some more signage. We need to maybe mow it twice a year to make it accessible. Get some volunteers to help maintain it through the year. We need to get some cooperation with the resort for making use of this. And I'll also note that this trail connects to the existing state forest trail. So this would open up a whole range of trails that people will be able to connect to. Phase 3, we're proposing a heights extension. Now, there's a little trail here already, but we'd like to improve this and cross Park Drive, and then put a parking lot there near the Black Cherry townhomes that would allow people to park their cars across the street from the existing state forest trail that ties into Gardner Road, make it easily accessible to anyone, either from the community or from the resort that wants to make use of this trail. This is phase 4 is our most ambitious trail expansion here. This is a trail that would run along Snowfield. If any of you have walked on this road, it can be a little dangerous. You know, there's a limited sight distance. People come around corners, maybe a little too fast, and there's no place to walk except in the road. So we're proposing to put a trail along this road that would get you off the road. Probably be best to be a paved trail that would connect essentially the Highlands pool area and the Highlands walking trail with the existing High Top Drive trail, and as well as the foundation. And this could be built in phases so that we can minimize a yearly type cost. And like I say, this is probably the most ambitious trail we're proposing. It's almost 3/4 of a mile long. Phase 4, we have proposing another concept here of providing a trail that connects up to the existing High Top and Highland Drive trail, goes along Gardner Road, gets people, provides a safe walking space out of the road along Gardner, past the Highlands condos, and then over here to the existing Highlands Drive trail, which goes over to Alpine Woods and the summit. And finally, our final phase that we're proposing, and again, we have this, we'd like to have this Penn Trails consultant give us some ideas and look into design issues, but this particular trail would go along South Ridge Drive, connect up to the High Top Drive trail, the existing one that's near the foundation, go along South Ridge Drive, past the Eagles Ridge ponds and through the, kind of very scenic space here, and eventually terminate here near the pines, and hopefully connect up to the existing West Ridge hiking trail, which used to come right out to South Ridge Drive at one time. So that's kind of the ideas we have right now for the walking trail and multi-use trail committee. And we're hoping we can move forward in the future with some of these ideas. And I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to present today.
Thank you, Jay. That's a whole lot of information, and I'm sure the board's going to want to sit down with you and look at the details. Thanks to your committee for all that work.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to the nominating committee report. Chris Humble, I think Chris just is going to make a verbal report.
Jay, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Okay, I'm trying to. Where in the heck's the button?
Bottom of the screen.
Might be right at the top, red button says top.
It should be at the top, too. You muted himself. What else we got here?
There you go.
Here you
Well,
go.
I We can join that if you want. Okay.
It's the eject button.
Sorry, Jay.
Big operation, gotta expect some
It's
catching.
like there should have been a big cane that came in and just pulled them off the stage.
Okay, let's see, who's doing this one?
It's Chris Humble.
Chris Humble, okay, let me get that. Chris.
I probably just had single Chris. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, is that working?
It is.
Gotcha, Chris.
Gotcha, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much, Pat, and thank you all for this opportunity to report. The Nominating and Leadership Development Committee is a new committee formed under the bylaws adopted in 2019. Of course, the Nominating Committee itself is an age-old committee, but the leadership development aspect of our work has made this into a year-round committee. And I want to thank Pat, who's by the bylaws the chairperson of our committee. The bylaws call for the board president, or for the board president to be the chair of this committee, but she's commissioned us as committee members to carry on this work, and we worked with a great deal of independent initiative this year. Thank you, Pat. And I say we, that's Lisa Borelli-Dorn and John McGrail and myself. We've had a great committee and eager to share our work with you. I don't have slides, but I do refer you to the written report that was provided by the foundation in the packet that went out to all members concerning the meeting. We have a detailed report there of our activity. I want to thank everybody who has helped with this activity this year, and including the board. And in our report, we make several recommendations that I would refer you to. And in particular, I want to emphasize a recommendation that we find ways to work more closely with the various condominium boards. And in doing so, to work closely with them to invite, involve, and recognize volunteers, and use that process all in the development of future leadership. Most importantly, I want to thank everyone who has worked to support the foundation in any volunteer role. If homeowners are the lifeblood of Hidden Valley, then volunteers are certainly the heartbeat. So I want to take this commercial time to encourage anyone who is interested in volunteering to reach out to John McGrail, to myself, any member of the board, to Lisa Dorn. Get involved and let us help you find a way that is comfortable for you to be involved. It has many ways to serve. I also want to thank Dave Fiola and John Wolf and the Communications Committee for their efforts throughout this year to help us communicate all of this to the homeowners.
In a healthy growth of trees of the right kind and where they were appropriate. Also guiding ways for good drainage to avoid damage to property. DOC's high standards did much to help maintain property values throughout the community. Please join with the board of directors in recognizing Dr. Richard Calla for his many contributions of time and talent over more than 25 years on the ACC and in a myriad of other capacities as a volunteer. Truly a lifetime of leadership and service. We will present Dr. Calla with a set of Wendell August Forge coasters, each engraved with the image of an Amish barn raising. The Amish barn raising represents how members of a community volunteer their time to build and uphold the members of their community. What better image for our Hidden Valley volunteers? We will also plant a tree next spring in honor of our award recipient. Congratulations to Dr. Richard Calla, our first George and Helen Park Lifetime Achievement Award recipient.
Thanks, Chris Humble again, and John Eddy. And congratulations, Dr. Calla. Very exciting for all of us. I do have your coaster here, but I'm sure you're not gonna be able to see it very well, so, we'll get them to you. Moving on, to our election of directors. You know, we have worked very hard this year, and I hope the community understands how difficult it is for everyone involved to hold the election and conduct the election process in a way that provides as much information as possible to the homeowners so that they are able to select those individuals who they think are best able to move the business of the foundation forward. We did a number of things that we have done traditionally, but obviously we were not able to do those activities in a traditional way. We did hold our Meet the Candidate event. Many of you participated. We strive every year to increase the number of homeowners who participate in the election, and this year we did have a number who did participate. At this time, I would like to announce that the top 3 vote getters and those individuals who will serve on the board for the next 2 years will be Daniel Martin, John Dickinson, and Christopher Taylor. Those were the top 3 vote getters. As everyone may be aware, the board commissioned the accounting firm of Stenger Weiss to receive the ballots that were submitted. They did issue a report in connection with receiving those ballots and counting the ballots. That report, as well as the results of the election, will be made part of our minutes from this year's annual meeting. Any questions on that? Okay. So right now, I need a motion to approve the treasurer and audit report.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer and audit report.
I'll second.
Motion by John Eddy, second by Doug Henry. We're asking for those members in attendance to participate in that.
Which one?
Treasurers.
Chris, I'll shut him off as soon as we're done. Good?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So when you're ready, we'll do a motion. I need a motion to approve the committee reports as we heard them this morning.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Bob Kohler, second by Bill Leisha. Any questions on the motion? If not, we're waiting for those votes to be entered. Okay.
Good?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right, just briefly, under new business, we have not too much of an update on the Southridge Center project. As everyone is aware, the foundation will receive the results of the bids that were put out for purposes of building the Southridge Center 2. We expect to receive those bids back by December 3rd. Those of you who are interested, and I hope that's everyone, we will be discussing those bids and perhaps making a decision at our meeting on December 18th. So, stay tuned for more news on that project. The next item is an update on the Hidden Valley Utility Service project. Bob, if you would take that.
So a couple of things to report on Hidden Valley Utility Services. Two things. As a part of the McCloskey case, which goes back until 2014, Hidden Valley Utility Services was ordered to do a number of things. They must file status reports every 60 days, and the utility has filed their most recent status report. That was in October. They're also required to have semi-annual meetings, and this past Wednesday night, they did host a meeting in conjunction with the Water and Wastewater Services Committee of the Strategic Long Range Plan. And at that meeting, Hidden Valley Utility Services went over their fourth project, which is to install a water filtration system. That project is underway, and I'd like to thank the members of the Water Committee, especially Dan Martin, who has been visiting the site regularly, typically every 2 weeks, and has really been monitoring the progress that has been made down there. If you drive past, you'll see that there's some construction underway, and with a little bit of luck, sometime here in possibly late January, all of that construction work will be completed. There's some permitting procedures that have to be followed in order to get the plant up and running then. So we're actually seeing some progress there. Additionally, in the McCloskey case, there's still an open court matter. A hearing was held this summer regarding the implementation of the steps necessary to cure the long-running brown water problems here, and we're still waiting for a ruling from the judge. So that's the latest on Hidden Valley Utility Services. Thanks, Pat.
I think we omitted the landscape committee report earlier. John, we can pull that up. Dennis, are you still on?
The motion, do we have to reopen the motion?
What?
Yeah, we'll just approve it.
Just to prove it on its own.
Let me pull that though.
We're just gonna, okay, I'm not gonna bring them on. There's two Dennises.
Is Dennis Carroll online?
He can't hear.
He can't hear us.
I think it would be the double N.
Wait, I mean, if somebody's waving their hand, so I think he's saying yes, I don't know which Dennis it is.
Try the double N. Huh?
Yeah, I don't see him.
Yeah, you know what, I thought his, when he was on yesterday, I thought it was his full name, Dennis Carroll, on the screen, wasn't it?
Does anybody have his cell number?
I don't.
Do we have the PowerPoint?
We do.
I think we should show it.
Speak of the devil. Is that the front door?
Is he calling you?
I was calling.
Hey, Dennis. Okay, we're trying to find you.
Dennis made a comment that he is online.
We just don't know which one he
We
is.
don't know which one he is. Oh, okay.
Because we have two Dennises, but
Well, can we try?
Okay, he is online.
Okay, well, let's just try this one.
Yeah, let's just try.
And he uncovered his camera, so we ought to be able to see him.
Okay, so he's,
We have it there.
Okay, is he able to talk?
Dennis?
Yeah, I think he needs to unmute him.
Yeah, unmute himself.
Ask him to
Or you
unmute.
unmuted yourself?
There it is, I can unmute.
If that's him.
Yeah, just ask him to.
Dennis?
He's still there.
If that's him, is that the only Dennis we have?
Yeah, it's coming, it's only Dennis, DENIS.
That is him.
You gotta tell him that.
Tell him to unmute.
He can't find the controls on his unmute.
Tell them just press the space bar,
Press the space bar, Dennis.
just hold it down, that will do it. Bang,
Okay, what's Bob now?
just press the space bar and hold it down.
Press the space bar and hold it down.
Where's he on the phone?
Excellent. We can't see you, that's the problem. We know you're online, we can't see you.
Ask him if I can run through it. We gotta move this
All
along.
right, Matt wants to go through the slides, if that's all right, because we're having trouble figuring out to see you and to hear you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Jen, so thanks for calling me. All right. All right, bye-bye.
That is definitely not.
To the right, the PowerPoint, John. There you go. You're welcome, Fred.
There it is.
Where is it, Bob?
Slideshow. Right click on that, now all the way to the
There
left.
you go.
There you go.
Reviewing, now I need to share the screen.
Second row, look.
All the way down.
Right there.
Go on.
All the way to the left, John. There you go.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
All right, sorry, everyone, a little bit of a technical difficulty. We aren't able to get Dennis Carroll, the Landscape Committee Chairman, on the meeting, and so I do want to go through the committee's PowerPoint presentation. I will be a poor substitute for Dennis, but I certainly want to go through the slides that they put together. As you can see, the members, Dennis Carroll is the chair, Alicia Bitzer, Linda Lackey, William and Hope McGee, Michael Dowling, Marie Fab, Donna Corson, and Thomas Cizurga are committee members. Probably everybody is aware already of how active this committee has been, given the activity down at the Heights. As Dennis has indicated, this committee was formed as a result of the strategic long-range plan and the community's desire for improvements in Hidden Valley landscaping. There have been efforts by many volunteers to assist this committee to achieve its goals. Can't seem to move that, John. Okay, let me try that. Okay, our pilot project was at the Heights. It was a great place to start. We all noticed those dying trees every time we drove into the property. And their goal was to rejuvenate the dying landscape with new trees and shrubs. They planted 15 new white and Norway spruce. Phase 2 will begin in spring of 2021. They have removed the dying blue spruce and replaced with new trees. And those are also evident when you enter the property off of Gardner Road, I guess it is. The committee was also assisted by the Hidden Valley staff. Their goal is to prepare a long-range landscape plan to improve the softscape element of property value. They are planning for the long term, which is necessary to avoid the risk of reducing our property values and to provide for the future availability of our natural resources. Dennis and his group has worked with professionals like the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, as well as the Penn State Extension, to follow best management practices, replenish, maintain, enhance the natural woodland setting. That it? Okay. Dennis and the Landscape Committee, thank you so much. We know how busy you've been and how hard you have worked. And so we can't wait to see what the spring will bring in terms of your efforts. Okay. Last but not least, I did want to announce to the community that as of yesterday, John Sabo is no longer the executive director of the Hidden Valley Foundation and will not be with the foundation. Rest assured that the board has formed, or is in the process of forming, a new search committee. We'll be undertaking a search for a new executive director, as well as hope to implement a plan to restructure the current Hidden Valley Foundation staff. Please stay tuned. We hope to move quickly through that process. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to members of the board, and we'll be sure to get those questions answered. So, does anyone on the board have any other item for today's agenda? Are there any questions, Dave?
We've received a question asking where they can get a copy of the water issue or summary. Great question. There is a unique landing page on hvftoday.com on the website.
Under governance.
Under governance, you scroll down and look for HVUS.
Yeah, HVU utilities.
Yeah, HVUS, which is Hidden Valley Utility Service. Everything that we are working on and that is currently underway with regard to the water department and water issues are located on that tab on the website. So that's the quickest and easiest way to go to find out what's going on.
Okay. I do want to thank everybody for hanging in there. I think we started with 97 participants, and we still have 90. So thank you for hanging in there. This is a difficult way to...
This is a member of the meetings. Sorry, we got to have a quorum of the members, and we do because of proxies. So we've got to take our proxy total and be sure that's in to add to the 92 to make the 10%.
I have that. Our proxy total,
It was 150,
159.
159. But that's what allows us to make this official.
Okay. Before we adjourn, I know we have a lot of people online watching. And while this isn't the last meeting of 3 members of the board, it is a meeting when many participants will be here to hear me say thank you very much to Dave Fiola, Doug Henley, and John Newport. They have worked extremely hard this past year. I will tell the new board members, you've got some big shoes to fill. We welcome you, but these 3 gentlemen will truly be missed. We appreciate their efforts, and we expect to see them at every monthly meeting going forward. So, does anybody have anything else?
Thank you,
Okay.
Do we have to do any official approving of the landscape report then, or do we not? Because it was not in.
It was left out. So,
We've got to revise, Bob's got to revise, and then Bill's got to revise. We've got to remodify.
why don't we do it this way?
Just approve it as is.
For record-keeping purposes,
Yeah, motion.
Bob, you made a motion to approve the committee report.
Right.
Do you agree to amend that motion to include the landscape committee report? Bill, you seconded that motion. Do you agree to include that landscape committee report? Okay, Dave,
Okay.
done.
Okay.
All right. If there are no other questions or comments, thanks again for participating, and we hope to see you at our December meeting.
Thank you, everyone. And we adjourn. What time?
11:53.
11:50.